There is a general piece of advice about posture that is widely believed, and to many people, it might even be the first thing that they think of when they think about attaining good posture. But this piece of advice is not just wrong. It's the complete opposite of what is desirable. I won't hold you in suspense. The worst advice about posture that most people believe is that pulling your shoulders back is good posture. In reality, nearly everyone is constantly pulling their shoulders too far back. If you decide to consciously pull your shoulders even further back, you will only be making your postural problems worse. Let's look at some images that purport to show rounded shoulders. I don't think you'll see rounded shoulders though. I think you'll see the opposite. You'll see in the before and the after picture people who are pulling their arms back. Let's make note of 2 points on these images. First, we'll mark the upper arm, and second, we'll mark the bottom of the sternum. What we can see is that the bottom of the sternum is forward, and the arms are always back. The arms are always behind the front of the rib cage. The elbows are also always pulled back, nearly far enough to be behind the body. These images claim to show rounded shoulders that are too far forward, but a simple analysis shows that the exact opposite is true. Their shoulders are pulled backward, and that is pulling their arms back, which is why their elbows are so far back. In the after pictures, we see people who are pulling their arms even further back. But why on earth would you want your elbows to be back behind your body? And why would you want your chest to be pressed so far forward? People who believe in this idea of rounded shoulders say the problem is that people are keeping their shoulders too far forward and in towards their body. They're correct about one thing. People do bring their shoulders in towards their body, which is undesirable and bad for the functioning of the arm. But that only proves why pulling your shoulders back is a terrible idea. Pulling your shoulders back brings your shoulder blades closer together, which means pulling your shoulders back will bring your shoulders in towards your body. If you don't believe me, you can prove it for yourself quite easily. First, place your right hand on your left shoulder blade. Then, pull your left shoulder back. What direction does your shoulder blade move? Now, pull your shoulder forward. If you have trouble with this, you can simply reach your left hand across the front of your body and touch your right thigh. What direction does your shoulder blade move when you do that? You will feel with your hand that your shoulder blade moves in towards your spine when you pull your shoulder back. This is easy to understand. Your shoulder blades sit on the side of your rib cage. When you pull your shoulders back, you are pulling your shoulder blades onto your back and bringing your shoulder blades closer together. This diagram, made by Jando Massaro, explains it quite well. In this image, we are looking down on the ribcage and shoulder blades from above. In the first image, the shoulders are pulled back, and they are coming close together at the person's back. In the second image, we see the shoulder blades moving apart, and to do that, they have to be moved forward. In the final image, we see the desirable configuration, with the shoulder blades very far apart, and so far forward that the arms are actually in front of the ribcage. Remember when we looked at the images earlier and saw that in every picture, before and after, the arms were back in relation to the ribcage? That was because in every image, the person was pulling their shoulder blades together on their back, which pulled their arms backward in space. When you pull your shoulders back, you're also applying a force that will tend to pull the top end of your rib cage backward in space. This will encourage an undesirable rotation of the rib cage as a whole, where the top of the rib cage moves back and the bottom of the rib cage moves forward. That's why these people have the bottom of their sternum and their lower ribs so far forward. This undesirable rotation of the rib cage is a large element of poor posture, as it contributes to the hollowing of the lower back. Many people think that they have anterior pelvic tilt, or APT, but the pelvis is only part of the equation. The tipping back and down of the rib cage is also forming this bend at the lower back. And as long as you continue to pull your shoulders and arms backward, you will struggle to straighten out your lower back. Pulling your shoulders back also interferes with the proper functioning of your arms. Your arm is connected to your shoulder blade. If you pull your shoulders back, you will pull the top of your arms back, and that will put the arm in a strange position where it can no longer hang vertically straight. The top of the arm will be pulled back, the elbow will be pulled very far back, and the hand will go forward to compensate. This is an arm that is bent. When your arm is vertically straight, it's going with gravity. When your arm is bent, you are fighting gravity. Constantly fighting gravity is tiring and painful, and it's why so many people have pains and issues with their shoulders, elbows, wrists, and backs. This is really a strange thing to consider. Most people can't just let their arms hang vertically at their sides. Instead, they are constantly efforting because they keep their arms perpetually bent. Part of the problem is that years of habitually pulling their shoulders back has shortened the muscles in their arms and upper back. But what the real problem is that people do not know what movements would allow them to straighten their arms. The first movement we can consider is to stop the habitual movement of pulling our shoulders back, as that will only make our arms even more bent. To begin to straighten our arms, we need to move the shoulders and upper arms forward in space. We can also consider our elbows, which we would like to bring forward of the ribs instead of pulling them backwards to be behind our back. When you pull your upper arm forward, you will pull your shoulder blades apart and widen your upper back. But we don't just want the shoulders and elbows to go forward. We also want them to go outward, away from the spine, and down in space. Making sure that your shoulders and elbows do not go up, but instead go down is very important. Most people will have to fight the habit of pulling their shoulders and elbows up. So if you've been pulling your shoulders back to help with your posture, please stop. Instead, consider that there may be other parts of your body that you want to pull back, and that your shoulders need to go forward, outward, and down. Making these movements will feel unusual, but that's a good sign. If you're going to break free from your harmful habits, you have to make movements that feel strange. You will have to make movements that you've never made before. Stay tuned for my next video, which will further explore this topic. And if you would like some direct assistance in correcting your posture, I do offer lessons that are designed to help you correct your posture in an effective and rational way. The lessons are conducted one-on-one over Zoom and will provide you with practical methods to take control over how you use your body. You can visit my website, mechanicsofpoise.com, to learn more or to book a lesson with me. Thanks for joining me today. Questions and comments are always welcome in the comment section below.